go ahead and briefly take a look closer at the Properties panel in Aurora for Architects. So I've already got a file open here. It's a window with a grid. And I'm going to go ahead and add in a shape. I'll go ahead and choose the ellipse. And let me go ahead and choose one of the vantage point controls. Let's go to gauges and I'll choose racing gauge. And let me go ahead and make the size of the numbers a little bit bigger here so we can read those. So first thing I'll do is stop in the property panel where I'm going to be explaining more. But as you take a quick look here, you can see that we have dozens of dependency properties. Now when I say dependency properties, that's because they're different than .NET 2.0 and .NET 1.1 properties, and that dependency properties have two advantages or main advantages over regular properties. Number one, they can react to change notification, and number two, they can be a part of the property value inheritance. And I'll leave that up to you to do a little bit more research online about that. But for this video, let me show you the property panel and some of the neat things that we can adjust where we couldn't, say for example in .NET 2.0, or it would be very hard. And let's start with background. Very typical, something you want to change on any platform. We can still do that here very easily. Here we have, for example, a radial gradient. That could just as easily be excuse me, a linear gradient, or perhaps a solid color. And I'm just left clicking and dragging through here to choose. But we can also do images and videos, etc. for the background. So if I click on image, I can actually go to a roster image in this case, and let's go ahead and use this logo here, and now I have a background that easy for the racing gauge. So let's go ahead and get back down to that font, and we'll go from 12 to 42. There we go. And for the background, let's go ahead and close that. And let's see what else we have here. We have a border brush that's already set as a linear gradient, so if I adjust that, you can see the border. If we wanted to, we could use that image again and go right back to that image to show you the depth of configurability that you have here. So as you can see, that's a very interesting design. It actually goes right out to the border now. We could also obviously set, like I said before, solid color, or we could do a system color named, etc., etc. So I'm going to leave it on red, and we can do the caption here. We can adjust that. So you can see where it says vantage point. We can adjust that very easily, just flying through the colors here. And let's see what else we have here. We've already worked with the font size, and we can actually go to the caption font size and adjust that as well. So we can make that obviously much larger or smaller. We can also go to the corner radius. This is pretty interesting. So we have this spherical control, but we can actually go and turn that with a few adjustments like this into a square control or a rectangle control. So, and interesting side note here, instead of putting all 4 entries in, you can actually just go 600, hit the enter key, and it'll take care of you there and populate the other 3 in that series. You can adjust. Here's another interesting one. Might not have a big call for it, but you can actually do the, let me dig it up here real quick, flow direction. So we're left to right, we can go right to left. So that's kind of nice if you're doing localization, for example. And certain controls, this can come in handy. So it's kind of neat. Or if you're doing mirroring, if you want to mirror that, give a reflection. That's another time that can come in handy. And of course, a glare brush. This is something else we can actually, might be where you'd come in, for example, and go to a linear gradient, and then adjust the transparency so you can see more of the background. So you can actually have a nice little glare going on, a little effect there. You can add in some different colors, etc., etc. And let's see, on this one we have a inner border thickness, so we have it at 12. Let's see what this does. There we go. So we can adjust that as well. Let's go ahead and select all of that. can really get in there. Get some interesting designs when you start pushing the numbers out to the edge there. So you start getting, here's inner corner radius again. Sometimes it's going to be a look, maybe that's not the look you want, but you can experiment, and I think you'll surprise yourself with what you can come up with. Really, really neat. So there we would take the inner corner radius and then the corner radius to get a square, control instead of a spherical. And just moving through again, we have margins here. I'm going to go ahead and Control X to save that, and so we can actually do it right off of the surface. And so those basic properties that you would expect, or you'll definitely find use for. We can adjust the maximum. For example, if we want 0 to 100, that's great, but what if we want to change that? Well, let's just pop in a 0. Now we're 0 to 1,000, or maybe we want a maximum of 10,000. We're hooking this up to a pump somewhere on a plant floor. And let's go ahead and take a look at the meter border brush. So you can see down here, adjusting where these numbers are here, or number here 0 is at. Can adjust that even. So quite a bit. And that was only a little over halfway through where we're able to adjust. And obviously I didn't go through every possible combination. So you could literally spend a lot of time in here and get some exciting controls set up the way that you want for your project. And that's taking a look at the Aurora for Architects properties panel.